Hello, my name is Tanner Pompey.
My name is Victoria Smith.
My name is Rebecca Ward.
My name is Bradley Watson, and today we're going to talk to you about culture shock.
Most of you have probably heard of culture shock before. It is the feeling of disorientation when a person goes to a new country and experiences a sudden unfamiliar culture, a new way of life, and a whole set of new attitudes. Some symptoms of culture shock are extreme homesick, sadness, helplessness, depression, and sleeping, eating disturbances. There are 4 stages to culture shock: the honeymoon phase, rejection phase, regression and isolation, adjustment, and adaptation. And now we'll talk about those 4 stages.
So the first stage of culture shock is the honeymoon phase. It usually happens right before and right after relocation, about 1 or 2 weeks. The individual is usually very joyful and enthusiastic about experiencing a new culture, a new way of life. They're fascinated by the new environment, all the new foods, people, and culture. The second phase of culture shock is the rejection phase. The individual starts to have feelings of resentment and anger. They start to really understand and feel the difficulty of the new language and all the culture, foods, housing, anything that they have to encounter in this new country. They start to realize that they're totally new to the whole culture and that simple tasks are actually going to be pretty difficult to accomplish. The realization and the fall from the high experienced in the honeymoon phase takes its toll both mentally and physically. The third phase of culture shock is regression and isolation. The individual takes the fall from the prior 2 stages pretty hard. They start to compare their life now to the way it was back then and back home. The symptoms during this phase usually include sadness, anxiety, and anger. You start to really miss the old way of life, and this phase usually lasts about 6 to 8 weeks. And the final phase of culture shock is adjustment and adaptation. This is when the person starts to recover from the prior phases of isolation and rejection. They start to learn how to adjust correctly and to their new way of life. And the person is generally just more at peace with their new culture.
I'm going to talk about factors to adjusting to culture shock. One of the first ones is curiosity. You have to have a desire to know about other places, people, and ideas. You need to be able to learn these things in order to adapt to a new environment. Another is communicativeness. You need to have the ability to communicate thoughts and ideas to others, and this is successful for communication between cultures. Next is flexibility and adaptability. The ability to respond to the ambiguity of new situations. You have to keep your options open and remain judgment-free because it's going to be a completely new surrounding. You have to have positive regard for others. You must be able to express warmth, empathy, respect, and positive regard for other cultures because you don't want to come across disrespectful. Another is open-mindedness. You have to be able to keep your opinions flexible and receptive to new stimuli. You have to have the ability to cope with failure. Everyone fails at something in a new country because it's a new world, new ideas, new thoughts. Most of the time, people who travel are successful at home and rarely experience failure, so it's important to learn how to cope since you've never been in this situation before. You have to have a strong sense of self. You must be confident in yourself so you do not come across overbearing or weak. And you have to be strong in your beliefs but open to new information and perspective. You also have to have a tolerance for differences. You have to be respectful and sympathetic of other cultures and their beliefs.
Next, I'm going to talk about reverse culture shock. Reverse culture shock is the feeling of disorientation experienced by someone who returns home from after traveling or living abroad and assimilating to a different culture other than their own. The symptoms of reverse culture shock are very similar to the symptoms of normal culture shock: frustration, boredom, reverse homesickness, negativity towards one's native culture, and also feelings of isolation and depression, changed relationships, deteriorated relationships, and feelings of alienation. So it can definitely take its toll on people experiencing reverse culture shock. Reverse culture shock is, as I said, simply put, it's just as the same as normal culture shock. And this occurs when expatriates become less and less familiar with their home culture and their native ways of life. It can be experienced by people traveling on business, vacation, or for school. That is our presentation on culture shock. Thank you for listening and have a fantastic day.